So thank you. Welcome to Making Threads Visible in Your Cloud Environment. This is an intermediate session, no advanced session. So if you want to see a live demo of the dashboards or an example of that visibility within our Vision One platform, please feel free to go to our booth. It's just in front of stage K4. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jung. I'm from the Mainz area, close to Frankfurt here in Germany, and I'm part of the cloud acceleration team within Trend Micro. That's a team that is consisting of technical and sales roles, and our main goal is to enable our customers in their cloud journey with Trend Micro. In the front row, we have my colleague Adrian. He's also part of the cloud acceleration team. You can also see him outside at the booth. Right, and we do all that in public cloud or in private cloud environments within your data center. However you like it, we have the matching solution. So a little about myself. I'm a cloud security architect. I'm mainly focused on AWS. That's what I did for the last 10 years. I actually worked with AWS in 2014 when they started building their Frankfurt region. Finally, after waiting so long and only having the Dublin region available in the European, so I started there. That's what I call a green field. So there was just a container and some empty boxes. And I did that for around 2 years. After that, I went to Mumbai to do the same for AWS, and we built the Mumbai region to push forward. By that time, it was called Amazon Instant Video, which you now probably know as Prime Video. That's when I went over there, and after building those two data centers, I focused back on consulting because I was missing the customers. Right. I'm a certified AWS professional. I also have that security specialty. I already recertified 3 times, have it the 4th time upcoming early next year. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm an AWS well-architected lead, that AWS guidelines to ensure that you're working within the best practices of AWS. It's usually carried out by the customer and a consulting partner, which was me back in the day. And we also have a tool set called Cloud One Conformity, which can help you ease down the things, because in well-architected review, if you do it by hand, it most likely takes the whole day. Right. Let's talk a little bit about Trend Micro. So Trend Micro is around for about 30 years now. We are the #1 in cloud security market share, and we are a leader in XDR, Extended Detection and Response. I will talk a little bit about XDR later in that presentation. And we have around 7,500 employees scattered around 73 countries. Right. And why container security is important. So that's, in my opinion, the important parts. So a single compromised container can be the starting point to a lateral movement. That's the entry point. Just one insecure container can be the entry point. And in the worst case, enable that vulnerability to start lateral movement within your network. More details later in the presentation. And vulnerable containers can break that host container isolation. So an unsecure container can be the infection start point for your host system. For example, we have a demo outside at our booth with our Trend Micro artifact scanner. If you today check the Nginx Docker Hub image, it will show up with 103 vulnerabilities. Not all of them are critical, most of them are low medium, but the default image by Docker Hub today ships with 4 high severity CVEs inside. And you're using a large number of third-party packages with potential vulnerabilities. As I said, Nginx ships with over 100 of them by today. And traffic between apps and containers do not cross traditional network security measurements like appliances by big companies like, let's say, Cisco. And those containers, they tend to have a little low, a short period of time they're actually involved. They might be killed, replaced, are not needed anymore. They were just spun up as part of an auto-scaling procedure. So if there was an incident with that container, it might be killed, but that CVE might already travel through your network or to other parts of your network or your cloud providers. Okay, so what to secure? So in the first place, you have to secure your host or container, depending on if you're using a hyperscaler or a private cloud. You have to secure your networking environment. You have to secure your management stack around your container deployments. And you should build on a secure foundation before you start deploying containers. So for the first step, I split that part in two. First, we start with on-prem or private cloud, or maybe you consider your VPC a private cloud and you build your own cloud hosts on an EC2 instance, for example. So we have the data center, and you should select a container-focused operating system like Rancher OS, Core OS, or Red Hat Atomic. Yeah, there's Rancher up there. You should implement monitoring to evaluate a baseline health status of your host, so you can actually detect and recognize if there's something changing in that behavior. Maybe that host is running for a year and never there has been an SSH session or someone used sudo on it. Those behavioral changes should be analyzed. So, and you should implement security controls for your host. For example, our Trend Micro Vision 1 platform can help you with workload security, XDR, detecting lateral movements, and scan everything that's around your systems. If you go to one of the big hyperscalers, for example, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, there's not much you can do about it. If you use a hosted Kubernetes service by one of the 3 big cloud providers, you have to basically trust them. So depending on your special needs, you have to evaluate which cloud provider is the suitable for you. Things like government requirements, GDPR, security, or regional yeah. Okay. And you basically just run those containers. Maybe you're already logged into a cloud provider. Maybe you have already containers running on AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Then it would be the easy choice to switch over to that cloud provider and use that managed Kubernetes service. Okay, for securing the network environment, you should secure your traffic moving north to south within your network. So north to south in that case means from your internet to your container host. And you should secure your environment for lateral movement, so containers actively using exploits or CVEs to break out that host container isolation and travel to another container or even to your internal network, client PCs, cloud providers, whatever you have connected to your network, is probably in danger if you're not securing against lateral movement. Intrusion prevention, which also can be provided by Trend Micro, can help you mitigate those risks in advance. And monitor your inter-container traffic. So as I said before, that inter-container traffic usually doesn't pass classical network protection systems. So you should at some point have the ability to control that network flow within your container host. Okay, the next part is securing your management stack. So you have to monitor and secure your container registry. Can be Docker Hub, can be a private repository, a cloud-based repository, or even a local one. And you shouldn't forget about securing your container host itself against malware and CVEs infections, because then you can manipulate those images, and if you don't scan them during your build process, they might be executed and bring down your whole network. And if you're using Kubernetes, you should implement that pod and network policies to mitigate that attack surface, and in the beginning start by shrinking down. So for example, right. And scanning containers for malware within the build process and the runtime is important. We can do stuff like that by using our runtime security that can monitor unusual things like, is there someone using sudo, or is there an SSH shell running on that container? And we can monitor that from in the Kubernetes cluster with our sidecar technology. So if something like that would be recognized, you have the option to define your policies to terminate that container or even just isolate that container. You can differentiate between low, medium, high, and critical failures. An SSH shell would be critical, so you might want to destroy that container and stop that container from running again. Right. And for building on a secure foundation, you're probably not building from scratch. You're most likely using artifacts or package dependencies, or you reuse code that have been written by someone else. So you should implement code review before even starting to think about building that container. And you can do things like image scanning, as I said before, with the Trend Micro artifact scanner. You can scan those images. And for example, with that Nginx, you can say, I'm not going to deploy that image until I have that 4 high issues fixed, and can integrate that into your CI/CD pipeline. So, for example, high critical CVEs would break that CI/CD chain and stop the deployment. And besides scanning for malware, you should also check your repos for passwords, private keys, company secrets. And if you're with a hyperscaler, for example, AWS, use that secrets manager. Don't put anything within that within your container images. It sounds like an easy fix, but it still happens. There's always some private keys in the dark web, still by today. Right, and I want to show a small example about lateral movement. So we also have that as a demo set up outside in our booth. But for example, you have a running container, and that container at some point might get infected by a CVE, by a vulnerability that was open while you're running that. And even if that container is fixed, you switch to a new version, you kill that container might not even exist in your database anymore, but in that small time the container was running, it already made its lateral movement to your internal network, to your cloud provider, and can spread. So how to detect that? So that's where our attack surface risk management and our whole ecosystem comes into play. We can do cloud security, cloud compliance, cloud posture management, but since we're at the Container Days today, there's something for everybody involved. But to focus on container security, we now can integrate container security with our XDR, so extended detection and response system. And an XDR sensor collects all the data from all the sensors. So it can be the container host, it can be the container itself, it can be, for example, CloudTrail logs from your AWS account. And it gets all collected and unified in what we call a workbench. So there you can track an attack from the CVE that is used to start that attack and follow that chain throughout all your systems. So from your cloud provider through that host, the pod itself, and follow that lateral movement and do some investigation on it and mitigate everything. And it's visualized. We have nice demos for you where we have everything about that visualized. So that's all I had for you today. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
So, it's working again. So Eric, thank you very much. So please, if you have any questions, we have lots of time for questions. So please go on Slido and enter the code #CD1112 or scan the QR code on the screen. And then I will look on my phone if we have any questions. Let's see if we already have any questions coming in. No, not yet. Great. Oh, well, I see one question.
Yep.
So if the questions could be on this, yes. So as discussed, what should we do if a CVE is found in a build? A hard ban may have a strong impact on review processes and/or development itself.
So in my personal opinion, those breaks usually are qualified in a medium, low, high, critical, or even worse. So, for example, if you have findings like a medium or low, you might just review it and want to be notified about that smaller impact CVEs. But if it's in the ballpark of critical and high, I would break the build and review it, because it might take some time to fix it, but I don't think that everybody wants to have a high or an even critical CVE within their actual deployment.
Great. Well, thanks. Oh, I have one more question. So let's see. You mentioned sidecar technology for container monitoring. How resource heavy is that?
So the sidecar technology, it's It's around 4 pods within your environment, and that's checking the processes. We do not encounter high usage from that. Those are really small pods. They check for deviations in configuration, so they're not any high impact containers running on your containers. They might probably are the least utilized containers on your host.
Good, thank you, Rick. So that was the last question. So then I can send the audience here to lunch early. So enjoy your lunch, and I'll see you back after lunch break. And give it up one more time for Eric Jung from Trend Micro.
Yeah.